Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you all very much for taking the time out of your very busy diaries this afternoon to join us for this webinar. We have an amazing lineup of educational speakers for you this afternoon who are going to take you through their personal journeys in terms of what they've actually been doing in immersive learning and where they actually are in terms of their own organisations and how they've been applying the technology across various and specific subjects. From my point of view, my name is Lindsay West. I'm the co-founder of the company that has built the technology company that built the technology itself, that is called Stage. Stage is a unique platform. It's a web-based platform. And essentially what it does is it empowers the educator and the student alike to enter the immersive space, predominantly through virtual reality at this point in time, but not exclusively, and start building out their own immersive experiences. In the United Kingdom at the moment, we have 20 such stages across colleges and universities in our country. And from the analytics that we see are coming through, the educational teams in the United Kingdom are building 300 to 500 engaging experiences per week with the technology. This really empowers immersive technology for both teachers and students alike, and brings metaverse really into the real world of education. As we all know, and I'm sure you all do as educators, technology often gets put into a curriculum under the heading of science or information technology, IT, or computer science. The thing about metaverse or VR education is this has to be open to all strands of academia and enable them to use the technology where applicable to enhance, engage, and support what they are trying to do and take the learning process onto the next level. As we currently sit in 2024, 16-year-olds have been born and brought up with the smartphone. They're very technology savvy. They're very technology expectant, both in education and when they move on into the world of work. And they are very expectant also of being able to engage, build, and create content within the digital space. So that's very much what we've been working very hard on. And I think that one of the areas that's most impressed me, I mean, I am a technology company, essentially, at the end of the day. But by liberating this incredible team of educators that we have speaking this afternoon with a tool, and that's all it has empowered them to use their own creative drive, their imaginations, their own unique brilliance to actually bring in their curriculum content and bring in their ways of learning into the immersive space in this medium, which is potentially far more engaging in terms of this, if we call it the smartphone generation that's coming up in a way that they like to learn. Learning is fun, learning should be fun, and full engagement within learning is something that young people really enjoy. And as we know that if you have a lot of fun when you're actually being taught something, you have a greater propensity to retain and hold on to that knowledge. Finally, and the last bit that I will say with regard to this is, I was originally going to be a clinical psychologist. And very interestingly, as human beings, memory and our powers of recall are primarily visual. So if we can recreate visual scenes, whether they are photorealistic or very imaginary for students to enter and learn within, they have a far higher chance of retaining that knowledge and information for a longer period of time. So I think this is very exciting. I'm very excited that so many of you have taken the time to join us, as I said earlier on this afternoon. And I'm absolutely over the moon that we have such an incredible panel of speakers to follow me after this introduction. I'm sure that they have far more interesting things to say about the world of immersive education than I do, because it is their area of expertise and brilliance. So with that in mind, what I'd like to do is to hand over to the very first person who saw the opportunities in Stage technology and embraced it nearly 2 years ago, the multi-award winning Stacey Vipers from Askham Bryan College in the United Kingdom. So Stacey, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Lindsay. If you could stop sharing your slides and I'll share mine. Excellent. Right, I'll just load this up. So thanks for the lovely introduction. And just to reiterate, my name is Stacey Vipers and I am the Assistant Principal at Askham Bryan College. And I'm about to go through our journey through immersive technology. So, Askham Bryan is predominantly a land-based college. So, to get involved in virtual reality is something quite unique. So, just to clarify that when we're talking about virtual reality, it's where users are simulated in a different environment. So, as you can see from the video on the screen, we take students to different places. So, this is actually a mental health and well-being deck in which we take students to a different environment where they can see different things, feel different things. And throughout this whole presentation, I'll be linking the work that we've done to the UN sustainability goals. So you can see that by putting together this mental health and wellbeing deck, we link to SDG 3, which is good health and wellbeing. So in addition to virtual reality, we was able to develop augmented reality using the same technology that we invested in. So we got double bang for our buck. But the difference with augmented reality is you can see real world and computer generated items within augmented reality. So for us, getting two uses out of the software and allowing different types of students to experience that was really important. And for us to be able to do that, we invested in the Stage platform. We've been using that for 2 years now. And this is some of the examples in which we've been using the Stage platform. So it was really important for us as part of our sustainable journey to make resources for all subjects. So you can see from this video that I'm playing now that this is a resource for our sport and uniformed public service students where they take part in a risk assessment in their learning environment. So being able to make things, being able to co-author things using the Stage software has been really beneficial for us to get across that vast curriculum. So it means that our virtual reality headsets are in use constantly, and quite often you can't get a slot in our Digital Skills Academy because it's so well used. But by being able to co-author has enabled that speed of creating resources, which has been really useful for us. Another thing that is really important for us as a college is making sure we've got it all the way from our induction right through into our curriculum and then right through to the end of the program. So the video that you're seeing here is one that we ran with our animal management students at the start of the year, where they are taken into a virtual reality induction quiz so they can get a real experience and feel for the start of their program. And we created it in line with the curriculum and in line with what the tutors wanted. And it's a really realistic experience, and it just knocks the edges off their excitement in VR. So the next time when they go in VR, they're really ready to learn. One of our students said there it's the coolest thing they've ever done, and it was very fun. So that's important for us as an organisation. In addition to that, we want students teaching other students. So this video is our animal management students who designed their 3D animal enclosures using the Stage software and then went into virtual reality to talk and analyze their choices. So this is the second year students teaching the first year students how to build and design in that 3D environment, and then taking them into the virtual reality suite to show them how to load them, how to develop them. So for us, having students taking ownership of this is really powerful, and it really helped the first year students to develop their knowledge and understanding. Then, in addition, we also had students co-creating materials based on their. Sorry, I'll just play the video. So they studied a pet store module, and we wanted to understand what they'd learned in that pet store module. So we got them to apply what knowledge they'd got to build an experience that would help the next year's students study in that pet store management module. So they came to the Digital Skills Academy and they worked with our e-learning coordinator to create a resource that would really help the next year's students coming through. So this was designed by them based on their knowledge, showing their deep learning of the subject, and it was really powerful to see what they was able to develop and create. So just upcoming on the video, you'll see the students in virtual reality and how they helped us design this pet store module for the up and coming students. So yeah, here the students are in virtual reality explaining to us what they'd need to add to that rat enclosure in order to make it a powerful learning experience for the next cohort of students. So that's really important to us. Okay, in addition to that, Rana, who will be speaking on this call very shortly, actually has been teaching sustainability within the Stage suite. So you can see the versatility of using this product. You can teach anything and anything in this product. So this is part of some of the resources that was built and created. And this is about sustainability within zoos. And Rana has created some really nice scenes within that workshop teaching sustainability examples around Chester Zoo. And this one talks about having a living roof and how it links to the SDGs. Then you can see how the learning outcomes are linked into the environment and how it looks at different environmental tools within that. Then we have the different pillars of sustainability in there, and you can see how immersive it looks and how you can take students to different environments to let them feel and experience different things. And then in addition to that, there's always a quiz at the end to enable them to show what they've been learning and developing in that session. So I think this is a really good example of how you can use Stage to teach almost everything and anything and take students into different environments. I think one of the things that we're really proud of is co-creating with employers and stakeholders to educate against threats. So this is a recent project with DEFRA, Ferra Science, the Yorkshire Arboretum and ourselves. And we wanted to teach students about a pesky threat called the spruce bark beetle that is in high supply now because of climate change and warming of climates. We're seeing this pest invading a lot of our tree species. So what we set about to do was educate people in the spruce bark beetle using this platform and getting them to understand the challenges in there. So this one was a really popular one that only happened a few weeks ago, but this is about taking the tool, developing resources and enabling education on a real grand scale. So that's one that we're certainly really proud of. And then I'd just like to share this final video with you, which was the entrance to the Green Gown Award that we won for the use of immersive technology in teaching and learning. So I'll just play that for you. There is sound, but it's only music. You won't be able to hear it, but you'll get the feel of the video. Okay, so thank you for taking the time to watch that. I'm going to hand over to Hannah now, who's going to share her experience at Boston College. So over to you, Hannah.
Hannah, just before you speak, sorry to jump in, I forgot to actually say, we're going to take 10 minutes of questions at the end, and if you could drop any questions into the chat, that would be really appreciated. Hannah, apologies for jumping in there. Thank you.
My name is Hannah, and I'm a digital instructor at Boston College. I'm looking forward to sharing with you our VR journey. Our introduction to virtual reality started at the end of May 2023 with a visit to Visor HQ, where we experienced the stage platform for the very first time. This created a buzz of excitement and visions of empowering our students to access learning until now they had not been able to be exposed to. Onboarding college staff started in November 2023 in a fun and relaxed way, where college staff began to be introduced to the VR facility at Boston College. It was ready to go live and support learners. For most of the staff, it was the very first time they had been immersed into virtual reality. Staff were excited at the concept of this new tool and had plenty of ideas of how they wanted to implement it. Visor's continued support with initially creating content and upskilling me was invaluable. Before 2023, I had no experience in creating 3D or VR content. My first completely solo VR creation was transforming a murder scene from a cardboard box into virtual reality for uniformed public services. This allowed learners to work through and explore the scene, entering each room of the house, and by supporting each other, they were able to identify evidence and eventually capture the suspect. Transforming their current materials into VR had a greater impact of learning with the students, and this was also amazing to see. The learners were confident and eager to be immersed into the virtual reality. Most, like staff, it was their first time of experiencing VR. They happily supported and encouraged each other with fantastic results. Learners were challenged to produce their own crime scenes in VR with some amazing resources created. Through upskilling to be able to create virtual reality decks and observing my creations being used, I began to understand how important interaction is in a VR experience. Learners want not only to interact with each other, but with the virtual world and objects within it. With Stage, you can create interactive objects that the user can enlarge to see intricate parts. They can order or label or pass objects to each other. Creators can add personalized objects, information, pictures, videos, or audio, which makes the VR experience individual. With the decks I've created, it makes a huge difference to be fully immersed with audio or music that is relevant or even what the learners have created. With the images of learning materials that are used in our college or information specific to our local area. Learners have found this a more personalised learning space and as such more memorable, so retaining the learning easier. The Cafe deck was originally created to support communication skills, but this quickly adapted for many different soft skill sessions, including teamwork, decision making, time management, creativity, and adaptability. Some sessions, physical chairs and tables were added to the scene so customers could sit down and enjoy their virtual coffee and cake within VR. Decks have been created to help learners that are experiencing anxiety that affect their learning, such as heights, phobias of animals, worries about interviews. May it be the most appropriate outfit to wear or questions they may get asked. Experiencing these scenarios in virtual reality has supported the learners transfer the confidence gained into the real-life situations. Learners are accessing virtual work experience through the Stage platform, where real-life work experience cannot be sourced or risk assessments are too high, such as scaffolding access in construction. Learners also complete virtual scenarios. For example, again in construction, they build a wall before completing this in using actual materials. letting them learn from any errors in virtual reality and saving money and resources in the workshop too. The Stage platform is able to create individualised virtual spaces, meaning each curriculum area can have their unique requirements met in VR to enhance each learner's understanding. We are using VR to support learners where previously they would not be able to access such resources. We have decks with forklift, HGV and bus checks, which before was completed on paper. Our learners with additional needs that may struggle to access public transport have built confidence in using train stations and airports in VR. A VR psychology workshop was held to support learners with the mental processes of certain environments, including crowded rooms and heights. This was initiated by higher education learners who wanted to run a carousel of learning, including virtual reality sessions to support other learners. Experiences were specially made to heighten feelings and other decks to relax learners. All experienced walking across a high bridge. Some were aware they could step off. Others kept to the bridge, unable to detach what was visually in front of them. Calmer decks of tranquil scenes were used between the most intense experiences, and all learners were able to reflect about their time in VR. I have not yet had to turn a colleague away that had a VR idea to help learning that could not be created and supported. Currently, the Stage platform has been used to support learning within maths, English, ESOL, animal care, business, sport, music, construction, foundation, uniform public services, employability, just to list a few departments within college. Stage has also supported other areas of college, such as careers and more recently corporate services. We have external interest from businesses wishing to use the VR facility to support inductions and checks. As Stage is easy to use, staff and learners are now creating contact as easy as creating a PowerPoint. Seeing staff and learners immerse themselves and their peers in their own creations is amazing to observe. The skills they have achieved to create a virtual reality scene, which themselves, their tutor and their peers can experience, is fabulous. But to share the way they learn through VR to other learners in a way they can connect is amazing. Currently, not many educators or students have the facility to create custom-made virtual reality spaces that can be adapted and changed as needed. We have a groundbreaking tool in the Stage platform. Thank you for letting me share how we are using Stage. If you want to follow our VR journey or have further discussions on how we are using Stage, please connect with me on LinkedIn.
A very good evening to everybody, and Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I am here to share my experience of using Stage, AR and VR for the subjects that I teach. So the subjects that I have taught so far using AR and VR are biochemistry, microbiology, parasitology, sustainability, genetics, cell biology, and anatomy and physiology. For anatomy and physiology, I've used different levels of complexities, different levels of questioning techniques, different assessment methods. For example, I've taken the students into the cell. I've taken the students into mitochondria, seen how the inner walls of the mitochondria are folded, and then made it more complex, where I've discussed with the students how cellular respiration, for example, happens. So what I'm going to show here is a group of students who haven't had biology since their GCSE. So since their GCSE, as per the Arabic curriculum, would be Ula Thanawi, so they haven't had any biology since Ula Thanawi, or as per the other curricula, since year 11, they haven't had any biology. And now they're coming to do a degree course and study a module such as biochemistry. So my aim is to bridge the gap in knowledge. I teach them the theoretical aspects within the lecture theatre. I do the practical sessions within the labs. But then to reinforce their learning, I bring them into the VR or AR labs. I'll play the video and you can see the buzz around the teaching method. So these students who initially were very daunted by hearing biochemistry are now enjoying themselves in the virtual lab. So I get them to handle the atoms, to put the atoms to the right molecules. I get them to interactively work around ways of identifying what those molecules are. And right at the end, as Stacey mentioned, we have a question and answer sessions where there is the possibility of designing cubicles, and within the cubicles, the educators could maybe put groups of students or individual students to assess their learning. And this could be as MCQs, it could be fill in the blanks or any of that. So I'll leave you to watch this video. So what you're seeing here are my students picking up the correct labels and putting them around the correct molecules. You can't hear the sound, but the students are enjoying themselves. They're having a laugh. They're having a giggle. One student is prompting the other students as to what the correct area is and where to go. They also have the boards in front of them. So if somebody is not very sure as to what the answer is, they can have a sneaky peek and see what the answer is and then try to work out what is being said. So at this stage, I'm asking the student what a disaccharide is. And this person had not remembered what the disaccharide is. So she's having a peep here, and then she's trying to identify what the disaccharide is behind her. And then within this, I would ask them what the bonds are and how the various atoms are attached, which is the first carbon, which is the second carbon. And then I progress on to polysaccharides. I would ask them the question as to what the polysaccharides are. I would expect them to give me the right answer. If they're not able to give me the right answer, their peers will help them. And this is where they are being assessed for the learning. So they are picking the tick and they are putting the tick to the right answer. And this is me just encouraging the students who have done really well and those who are not able to find the answer to find the correct answer. So there's a real buzz going on within the VR lab. And I'm asking them here a question about glycosidic bonds, and these are the students who hadn't had any biology. So at the end, they were all enjoying themselves, clapping and having a good laugh. So this was a lesson where I was trying to reinforce their learning of a subject that they found very difficult. In this second video that I've got, what I've done is we are trying to get the students to do group work. Some of the students just work on their own and they are not very confident in working in groups. So I'm getting them to work in groups. So I would start the lesson with the learning objectives right in front. I would give them the models. I would put the students in their various groups. I would give them the definitions and I would try to find out, or I would give the groups a time limit to match the definitions with the models that I have created. The team that gets most of the matches wins, and the prize for this group would be that in the next lesson, they would get to design the lesson. So they go into a VR lab, they design the things, and then they have a competition with their peers. For instance, this is histone proteins. I would ask the students to break the histone proteins apart try to model it in a different way, maybe in a way that a student who's coming at a lower level from them, they're able to explain it to them, or make it into a higher level, try an alternative way of explaining what I have explained to them. And then I would also have a model and then various arrows or various labels for them where they get to pick the labels and put them into the right places. Again, the team that gets most of the labels correct wins the prize. So this is mainly on biochemistry, and I've given you the example of cell biology. The other interesting aspects that the students have absolutely loved, and there has always been a very positive feedback, is the way the lesson progresses. So the first model was a very simplified version of DNA, whereas this is a more complicated version of DNA. Higher level students really get absorbed into it, and then they try to break apart the bonds, they break apart the molecules, and then they try to put it back together. The green balls that you see here, hydrogen bonds, the students get very fascinated to see how these hydrogen bonds are keeping the double helix together. So from a very simple subject such as cell biology to a very complex subject such as DNA and its structure. So this is DNA replication, where I get the students to look at the labels. So I've paused the video for now. You've got all the labels in front of you. Again, I put the students in teams and I say to the students, whoever gets the most correct answers in the least span of time is the winning team. And then the competitive spirit comes into play. They pick the correct labels up, they put it into the right areas, and then they celebrate. Whichever team wins celebrates, and they get to choose and do something more interactive in the following lessons. So this is in brief what I do with the students. And once I have done the lessons, I generally have feedback from the students. So although I've used Stage only for a year now, I try to compare the feedback that the students have given me without the use of VR and AR and with the use of AR and VR. And there's a significant difference between the positive comments that the students make with the use of VR and AR and how it facilitates their learning. Some students who wear glasses or who are visually impaired have some difficulties, but then in that case, what we have is this TV, so they don't use the visor or the headsets. What they do is they see their peers doing the activities on the screen. So if a student is visually impaired or not as efficient with the use of AR, VR, there are alternatives for those students to be involved as well. So that's all from my side. Thank you for your time, and over to Samara.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Rana. If we can, I'll just start sharing my screen. Okay, my name's Samara Ghafoor. I'm currently speaking to you, all of you, from Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. I work for Miss Schools. I'm the head of STEAM here, science, 25 years teaching in a number of countries, teaching various curricula in a number of countries and schools. I'm currently the head of STEAM, and I have the honor of being involved in implementing VR at our school. So our journey is a little bit different to what you've been listening to so far. I'm actually quite fascinated hearing the stories as I've been here from the start of this presentation. So ours is actually a journey where we're looking to implement it in a secondary school environment. So this is Miss Schools is quite an elite, unique school in Saudi Arabia. Our vision, I've just shared our vision and mission statement. We are a school from the age of 3 years all the way up to 18 years. Next year will be our first cohort of students doing A-levels. We follow the Cambridge curriculum. We came to join with Manifest and the lovely people that we've been working with from Manifest due to the fact that we were looking at VR from over a year ago now, actually. And I was quite heavily involved in looking at different organizations who are able to offer the VR experience within schools. But what we wanted was something that would tie in to our vision and mission, something where we would be able to individualize the teaching and learning in our lessons and to enhance learning using technology. One of the things I've always experienced in the schools that I've worked in is that often we adopt technology, but we don't really think about is it truly impactful in the lessons itself? Is it enhancing the learning? Are students benefiting from it? Often are teachers using it effectively? One of the things I've noticed certainly is that you see lots of equipment sometimes just lying in one corner. Schools will have the latest type of equipment, and teachers are struggling to use it because they're not comfortable, they're not trained fully, they don't feel confident in implementing it into the lessons. And so it was really important for me to really make sure that whatever we went for, we would have everybody on board with it. So one of the things that we definitely looked at is having a customized content. So we've had Alex, Sebastian, and Adam. They've been here for the last few days. I can just see Alex is back in the UK already now. So they've actually been really very supportive. And we're currently in the process of piloting using our heads of departments. So I'm just going to click over to the slides where I'm talking relevant to what we're doing at the moment. So what we're doing is we're piloting with our maths, our English, our science, and our Islamic studies departments. We've got the head of departments involved where they're liaising and working with the team from Manifest to create lessons. So one of the things that we asked the heads of departments to look at is think of a subject that students often have difficulty in understanding. So, something that isn't easy to teach using just PowerPoints and the various tools that we have in our classrooms. So they've all come up with different topics, concepts that students struggle with. And they're creating now, working with Alex and the team, they're creating content through a process. So I'm going to share with you the process that we've gone. So we've gone through a process where they create the storyboard and they work through creating a lesson. And it's very simple. So my understanding, I've learned a lot about how you go through all this just by watching what's going on. So it's very simple to create. It's as simple as creating a PowerPoint. And what you have is a range of items that you can create content from. So you can have 3D videos, images. So we will be given all those kind of resources, a library of resources that we can pull all those different things from. And then we can create those VR experiences for the students to experience using the metaverse environment. So this is some of the stages that Alex and the team have been working with our heads of departments on to create the content in those different subject areas. So this is part of the pilot scheme that we're currently working on with the guys from Manifest. And these are the different stages that we've been working through in getting those lessons created. So, again, you're thinking about the key objectives of the lesson. You're looking at what is the lesson targeted to, what kind of outcomes do you want at the end of the lesson. Make sure that there's, pre-assessments, there's formative assessments, there's an aspect of fun to it as well. You can have group work involved in it. So, and we also we're in the process of becoming an HPL accredited school. It's high performance learning for anybody who's new to the term HPL. And this is something where, if people are familiar with the IB system, it's a similar sort of concept in the sense that we use certain language in our lessons and in our teaching, in our classrooms. We sort of use words like collaborative and meta thinking and analyzer. You're a risk taker. You've become agile. So we're trying to adopt the language of high performance learning. And high performance learning is, in a sense, every child should be able to achieve an objective. We may not all get to the same level of that objective, but every child is capable of achieving. And we don't do differentiation in the standard sort of differentiation where you have sort of 3 different levels of differentiation. This is for the low, the medium, and the high. Everyone is targeted to sort of achieve that objective. And then, you challenge people a bit further. If they're going above that objective, you're pushing the ones that need to be working more towards that objective. But at the end of the day, the lesson is very much, the content tends to be the same. So this is something that we feel will enhance using VR, the VR experience will enhance that kind of learning within our classroom as well. Again, these are the slides that the HODs will be working through to create the content for the various lessons. We haven't actually finished because we're still actually working on that pilot side of creating the content, but I'm guessing we should have a few lessons created fairly soon within the next week or so. So that's something that we've been running alongside. We've actually had an HPL museum created. So Alex, Adam, and Sebastian have been working quite closely with our, we have a training academy within Miss Schools. And within the training academy, they've actually been using the HPL terminology and created some exercises. And we've had the HPL team over. So it was quite an impressive thing to sort of stage. They were all over here. The three gentlemen kindly came over and they've been supporting us, and people have been passing by and having an experience of what it's like to go in and do different tasks where they try and answer some of the questions to do with the HPL terminology. So that was something that we had going on in our cafeteria. Another event that I was heavily involved in was a STEAM event, where what we did was we collaborated with the art department and we got together all the artwork that the students had created across the junior school. And we created an art gallery. And what we had was in our reception area, so this is like the reception of the junior school of the STEAM event, as parents were coming in, they had an opportunity to put the headsets on and step in and enter into their children's classrooms and sort of see their artwork displayed. Unfortunately, because of safeguarding regulations and because of the kind of school we are, I wasn't able to share pictures of the students and the parents. It's just because of the kind of school that we are. We have to be very cautious about what we can have on display. But this was the setup in the reception area, and parents and children loved it. And then the children that didn't get a chance to experience it, next day we took the students over to our admin building, where Sebastian, Alex, and Adam again very kindly let the students access the headsets. And this is what the gallery sort of looked like when they viewed it through the headsets. So they could view their artwork. They had their little names on it and they could jump around. I mean, I enjoyed playing around with this as well. So it was quite an interesting experience. And I mean, the whole idea is for us to enhance learning at MISC. We are going to be adopting this from age 11 onwards up to age 18. The idea is for the students to eventually create the content. So obviously, we're at the higher end of learning, the Bloom's taxonomy, where the students will actually be eventually creating the lessons. We're going to have group work going on, pair work going on. So this is an opportunity for us to have the children be challenged, but at the same time, learn in another manner. The other thing that we are making sure, because we're going to be so heavily involved in, it's going to be a very customized content aligned with our learning objectives and our curriculum. So it will be very much our curriculum, our content. The teachers will have a big influence in what's being created. We do have a plan. So this is all the pilot schemes that have been going on over the last month or so. This is going to be leading up to June the 10th is when we actually break up for summer. But what we do have planned is in our induction week, in our first week back in August, the rest of the staff, there's a plan to have the rest of the staff across the school be trained. We're hoping having the heads of departments trained in this area will help us implement that training, because we do have certain time restrictions in how much time we can invest in the training. But this is an ongoing program. This isn't something that's going to happen overnight. As I can hear from, it's interesting because I can see it's colleges that have been using this. So for us, it's going to be very much a school experience. I actually would like to also create some experiences for some of our younger children. Obviously, there's some safeguarding aspects about students and having headsets on for a certain amount of time, but I would like to see us maybe even looking at some practices that we could implement into the younger ages as well and get them to experience some of the activities on there as well. So it's a very exciting time for us at MISC, and we're really grateful for having the opportunity to try out all these different pilot schemes before we can actually hit the ground running with actually teaching it full time within the lessons. So thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to share what we've been doing at MISC Schools, and I'll hand you over to Alex.
Hi all, thank you very much for joining. My name is Alex West, and I'll be doing a quick whistle-stop tour today of Stage. This should roll in very nicely after what Samara has been saying and the rest of the speakers today. We saw some really good examples so far, I would say, of specific use cases for what metaverse technologies can be used for, but Stage in and of itself is a platform really that can be leveraged for teaching pretty much anything. And anything, and content can be created for pretty much any curriculum. And the goal that we always have, very much what it aligned what Samara was saying, is that heads of department should really be able to have that oversight and ability to actually create this content for themselves to teach potentially things that they're struggling in initially, or concepts that students are struggling with from the offset, so that you can have a great deal of value from the beginning of this with this technology, and then eventually it be scaled into different activities. So this is Stage. Stage is 50% on the browser, so that's the actual content creation and administrative part, and this is what I'll be showing you today. The other 50% is pretty much what Stacey was showing and what Rana was showing, where learners are actually actively engaged with headsets on and going through content that has been created. So the first thing on Stage that you'll do is create an avatar. So if each student in the school has their own personalized account, they'll create an avatar that represents themselves, and this differentiates themselves when they're online going through different activities with their peers, so that you'll be able to see who's who and what people are doing from within whilst they're going through these learning experiences. The second part of Stage is VR and AR is very much three-dimensional. So what we try to do from the offset when we work with different heads of departments is find 3D models online that are free and available across a wide variety of different platforms that will enable you to create content for the activity that you're working on in that day. So even in here, we've got some HPL models that we've uploaded, obviously from the work that we've been doing with MISC. So there are things in here like meta thinking, linking models that we've uploaded that will form part of that experience. But these can pretty much be anything. We've even got things like space shuttles. We've got prayer mats, deserts, all types of different things. So from the offsite, you want to create an objective for what that lesson is going to be. Find the models online that you would like to actually be within that lesson, and then upload them to the platform. So not only is it 3D based, there's also 2D information that you can upload here. So you won't be scrapping any of the sort of previous learning materials that you will have created for other classes and courses. You can use PowerPoint images, you can use JPEGs, PDFs, and as I said, PowerPoint slide information as well to sort of create these experiences. So if I click on here, this is for some of the artwork showpiece that we did for the STEAM event the other day. So this is a student's artwork uploaded to the platform. Now that can be used to create the different experiences. What else do we have in here? An audio file. So if you need some, it's not going to show anything, but if you need to play some audio in the background, maybe some commentary on what's happening, these things can also be uploaded. We also like to use video content. So if you've got, some nice videos, maybe of that you found online, learning information around a specific process, those can also be used to build up that kind of library of information. We call, when you actually create these experiences, sequences. So within here, I've got a number of different experiences that have been created previously in sort of a Blue Peter style. This is like, here's what we created earlier. So within here, if I click on a educational demo, this is quite a nice overview of how different subjects, that are completely different to each other, can be taught from within here. So this is just a learning overview. I've got a number of different assets within this slide, so things for biology, physics, chemistry, and history. And depending upon which lesson you'll be teaching for that day, you'll select, which area you want to go into. If I want to create an edit on any of these, I can move this, I can move assets within here, I can rotate them, I can change the size and scale. If I want to actually add text box information, I can update, I can either add a new text box or I can edit and change text which is already in here. So if new learning information comes available at all, it's incredibly easy to edit and change. And that's where we see a lot of our value. It means that, the school can instantly update this as curriculums change year on year. So you're not necessarily having to go to a third party each time to do that for you. Things can be edited and changed in-house by your own team, which will work closely with you to actually train those individuals up to actually do that for themselves. So just to show different examples of what can be built. So within this one, this is a quick physics slide. Witness firsthand how the sun is 109 times larger than the Earth. So this is quite interesting because it's quite difficult to conceptualize this as a concept, but within VR, when you're using 3D, you can actually scale things up to their relevant size. So, as I said, that's not something that's easily conceptualizable, but when you're using VR technologies, you can visualize what that actually means. Even for things like history classes, if you want to take somebody to an ancient site, for example, so this is Chepstow Castle. If you're based in Riyadh or based in Saudi Arabia, it'd be very difficult to take a class to Chepstow Castle for the afternoon. But with virtual reality and with metaverse technologies, you can take an entire class of people to locations based all over the world from within the classroom itself. Even things like microbiology, I know we had a lot of overview of that today, but cell structures, microscopic structures themselves are, you can't dive down into the size of a cell very easily, maybe with a microscope. But if you want to be able to scale things up and move them around and have a look at what they're really like, you can only really use VR as a platform to be able to do that. So as I said, these are just models that we've found online for free that you can download and upload onto the platform. The point of this is that we've developed an activity for students to go through here where they pick up one of these text boxes and they actually have to highlight which of the cell structures these pertain to. And the way that you can do that is by freezing or unfreezing the assets. If you don't want them to be movable, you can freeze them. If they're unfrozen, people can pick them up and move them around and manipulate objects. Now, when you're a teacher, maybe you don't want students to have free reign of doing that. So there's control in here as well, control mechanisms, which we can teach you how to use this properly to actually freeze things and lock them in place, depending on the level of activity you want students to go through at any one time. So that's pretty much a very brief whistle-stop tour there of the platform. But what I would say is that for anybody that would like to actually see this in more detail, please feel free to reach out to Lisa or anybody with contact information afterwards, and we'll be happy to set up a more in-depth demonstration. And thanks again.
Well, first and foremost, I'd just like to thank everyone so much for all of their fantastic presentations this afternoon. I mean, what an incredible array of talent that I'm sort of very honoured to spend my afternoon with for the past hour. So thank you very much, all of you for taking time out of your busy schedules for that. We did ask for some questions in the chat. I think we've answered most of them as we went along. So if anyone has any additional questions right now for the last couple of minutes, then please jump in and feel free to pose them to myself and to the team. If not, I can put in another element here just very, very quickly on what we're talking about here, which is just an element of what we're actually talking about here. We're talking about immersive technology. So very, very quickly, in a nutshell, I'm going to do it in a minute for you all. The technology itself in the world at the moment, there are two major new computer paradigms coming up, which are AI and spatial computing. Spatial computing is also known as metaverse, and metaverse is the term that tends to have stuck for it. But essentially, we ourselves as technologists call it spatial computing, and this is the understanding of a computer, understanding of space and three-dimensional assets in a way that they've been unable to do so before. You don't have to enter the metaverse in an immersive way, but you get the best experiences when you do. So from that, there is a span of technologies that range from virtual reality at one end, which is whereby the user themselves is taken into a completely digital world that's different from the one that they can actually see that they're in, right through to the other end, which is augmented reality. And I know that Stacey went through this in her fantastic presentation earlier. And this is whereby the user can actually see the physical world that they're in, and you drop digital assets into it. So, and between that, there's a spectrum of technologies called mixed reality or extended reality, which are actually sort of pegged often to how Microsoft refer to things and how Google refer to things. But this is the blending of the two and the bringing together of augmented and virtual reality. And headsets like the MetaQuest Pro, the MetaQuest 3, and Magic Leap headsets are working into this space now, where you can start blending the two or moving from one through to the other. So it's actually a lot simpler than probably it appears from the outside if you're unaware of this environment, because there are a lot of terms that are bandied around. But please bear in mind, metaverse and spatial computing essentially are the same thing. Metaverse is a component of Meta, the company itself, formerly Facebook, and spatial computing is very much what Apple are using. So a couple of Q&As shooting in here, so let me have a look. So does stage, been answered. We have got an office in, I assume, Middle East. And do you provide ongoing support for users who may find the platform difficult to use? So yes, we do. And I think that all the team above have supported that, and Samara in particular, she's had the team over there with her for the past week. Yeah, okay, that's that one. Anonymous says that. Thank you so much. Just showing me in private, trying to okay.
I can just elaborate on that a bit more.
Okay.
So we have a full onboarding support solution for anybody that gets licenses for the platform. So this is depending on the amount of time that you have the license for. We'll have regular weekly calls and sessions and catch-ups, either on ground in the school or virtual, to ensure that people at the user end fully know how to use the platform, and they're using it in a way that they want to. So we'll align the training to sort of the requirements that you need, and as we say, we do that as regularly as possible. So at least once or twice a week catch up, and we actually create a scope of work for what we'll be doing over the period of time for when you use the licenses as well.
So that
I can also confirm that is the case. There's a lot of support, and the material that you experienced today was created by our first e-learning coordinator, Wolf Wright, who's moved on from our organisation. But when we had the replacement of Wolf, Dominic Ennis, there was support between those two people. So, even if you get new people in your organisation that don't know the platform, the support is there, and we meet twice a week. So there's definitely a lot of help in creating and getting you off the ground to get you going. And then when there is a change of staff member, the support's still there, and you can continue driving that forward. So it's been really nice to have that, especially as Askham were one of the first people to sort of try it, and my colleague at the time was completely new to this, as was the college, and we got a real lot of support and lots of real nice relationship built with Pfizer and the team at Stage. So it's nice to see that, and that does continue. So I just wanted to add to that as a sort of referee.
Thank you very much, Stacey. And again, thank you all very much. Alex will put contact details into the chat on how anyone can contact him and the team if you're in the technology. I'm sure all of you are both delighted, in awe, and impressed by this incredible team of women that we have here who are working in this technology. And it's really exciting where we're going with it from here. So we're starting at the ground, and we're rapidly shooting off into space in terms of what we're doing. So on a final note, I'd just like to thank you all very, very much again. Thank you for your time, really appreciate it. And thank you to all of you who've spent your afternoon listening to us. Thank you.